looking for positivity, more looking for encouragement. Temia Brinson aims to educate you, to give you the push to believe, to have the mindset for success. Mindset for success. To have the mindset for success. To have the mindset for success.
Know them. They both have came on the show before. How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Yes, doing great. Always thank you for the opportunity. I love the success that you're building and empowering communities every day.
Awesome. I want to get into a recap of what's going on in the country. The last couple weeks, 2 weeks, I believe, in Tennessee. They calling it the Tennessee 3, right? Where um, Representative Gloria Johnson, Representative Justin Jones, and Representative Justin Pearson, right? Where it was a big movement after the mass shooting, right? On gun rights. Young people hit the streets and they did a big march over to the Capitol. And they wanted to, they're demanding that the legislature, their local legislature, take action on gun rights. And so the movement, that came about, I think that was March the 30th. That came about. It was such a strong movement. You would see, I'm going to play a clip in a little bit where you see the crowds and they gathered at the state capitol in Nashville, Tennessee, demanding action on gun rights. And so these three representatives seized the moment, right? They seized the moment and took that to the floor of the Tennessee legislature. And because they took the issue to the floor in that moment, during that time, they were reprimanded by the state legislature, mainly the Republicans, because they were, they're in the majority for now. They're in the majority. So this happened March the 30th, right? And right after the mass shooting where it was 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults were killed in the shooting at the Covenant School, right? So let me just play this little clip and then I want to get guys.
How many more? 6 are dead. How many more? 6 are dead.
It was a storming of the Capitol on the state level.
Wow, that's a lot of people for 45 minutes before a start time.
Hundreds of parents and students marched all the way to the Tennessee Capitol in Nashville just days after a shooter killed 6 people, including 3 9-year-old kids, at a nearby private Christian school. They demanded lawmakers take action to prevent another tragedy like this from happening again.
Save our kids! Save our kids!
They shouted at lawmakers who were going about their business in the building. Some even stopped to encourage the protesters.
This is the voice of the people.
Little has been done following past school shootings to prevent the next one. Now that another community has been affected by gun violence, many people are hoping politicians will take action. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
Oh, awesome. I was taken aback by the crowd, and it was not just like a black movement. They want to be so quick to call it a black movement, but it was actually a human movement, a people movement. And you saw all kinds. I'm so proud of the young people because you saw all kinds of young people from all scope of life. Black, white, Hispanic. I was like, oh my God. I was so proud of the young people because y'all know I put in my time. So it's for the young bucks to go out there and make a change. Okay. But I feel so confident now in this next generation. What you call them now? Gen Z. I'm so thrilled to see and comforted to see them on the move now and in their own movement. And let me go to you, Russell. How do you feel about what's going on? Focusing on how it all started.
Yes, thank you. I wholeheartedly agree. First, I got to commend these young brothers in Tennessee. They modeled excellence. They modeled responsibility. They modeled boldness. Here you had two young men and one woman, actually, one senior woman, who were, appealing to their community about gun rights. They wanted people to be safe. They don't, they think there are too many guns out there. They were standing and representing, and they were using their voices as best they could within the rights of their constitution and policies in the state of Tennessee and the nation. And I mean, I thought it was wonderful that they advocated. I thought it was an atrocity to see them expelled. I was disgusted. I put up posts and let people know that should never happen. See, that's what happened during Reconstruction in the nation, that they were trying to wrongfully expel Black folks. It's like, it's a shame things like this have to occur over 160 years later. So then these brothers, the community rallied around them. They pushed them. And, after the expulsion, less than 5 days later, their local commissions and council puts them back in there. And what was designed for negativity and embarrassment backfired and was meant for good. It's even biblical in senses, right? I mean, thou prepared the table for me in the presence of thine enemies. I mean, this is real life right here. So I think it's a powerful thing to see. And I think they've reignited a movement that every decade there's some catalyst in a movement that reactivates young Blacks to be active. Going back to the March on Washington, every decade there's some triggering event, or maybe even a series of events that triggers. And a decade ago we had the tragic murder of Trayvon Martin, and then the tragic murders that happened across the country that sparked the Black Lives Matter movement. And now you have a movement with some brothers who are in office that they tried to assassinate in the media and tear them down. But now they're getting more vocalism and coverage than ever. They're on CNN. They're on every station that you could talk about. We're talking about them right here. And as you said, they're the future. So, I love what they're doing, and we have to support them and cover them and make sure they keep going. And other sisters and brothers like them also have to respect Representative Gloria Johnson, who did not get expelled. But when was asked, hey, why didn't you get expelled? She let it be known, because I'm a 60-year-old white woman. If I were Black and young, I would have been pushed out with them as well. She let it be known the white supremacy that exists in the political system and the world that needs to change. So I have respect for her as well. But Brother Jones and Brother Pearson, Representative Jones and Representative Pearson, I think they're doing wonderful at representing in the state of Tennessee. And we need to push them up to represent the nation and world.
Amen. Amen. Evangelist Warthen, Aunt Ruby, Evangelist Warthen, how do you feel about how this all started after the mass shooting, right, at Covenant Church, right, after the mass, the school of Covenant? So how do you feel about how this all started? The community gathered together, especially the young people of the community gathered together and marched down to the Capitol, protested, demanding action for gun rights.
Well, I too am very proud of our young people who are participating, making their voices heard. It just was a sad day. It was a sad day when they went to Covenant church and school and committed these murders. And it's something needs to be done. Something needs to be done about the gun that are being used to assassinate people. And so I agree with the young people that they should be active. They should be involved. And I'm glad. I'm glad to see them out there on the forefront, and I'm glad for our two young black men who represented us well and was well spoken and made their voices heard, and also Miss Johnson. So well, the world was watching, especially America was watching, to see what would happen now, because all three of them were charged with the same issues. Wasn't really a crime. So I would just say the same issues. And the one was reinstated, but the other two weren't right away. And so now everybody's watching, well, what's going to happen next? Because, if they do not reinstate the other two, then it's a case of prejudice. And so we know every now and then something to pop up where we know that racism is still alive and well. So that's my point. Go ahead.
Now, Ruby, I said gun rights. Let me correct myself. I meant they demanded change in gun laws, regarding gun laws, because they already got their so-called gun rights. But it's no reason why those type of weapons should be on the street.
And they keep
And this
resurfacing.
argument about we're gaming and going hunting. What do you need that type of machine gun, that type of gun to go hunting for? You're gonna rip apart your meat. So that's a bogus excuse.
Well, I don't understand why these guns keep showing up in the hands of people who have mental problems, or they say have mental problems. How are they even able to get those kinds of guns in the gun period? If they have mental problems. I just think it should be stricter
now
law.
this shooter, she was already under therapy. I don't think it got advanced to the point where she was medicated. But that's another good point. I think we should bring more awareness to mental health. Russell, you have anything to add on that?
Just think I concur with a lot of what the evangelist just said. See, overall, we want gun control because the more guns out there, the more murders that are occurring. There are people that are getting them and have more access to them than ever. And it's sad that many of the legislators have essentially sold out to the NRA, the National Rifle Association. And, they want droves of people to just have access to these weapons. And there's nothing done when you see these acts of violence that are taking out innocent people, people that are, this is not a wartime or anything like that. There are people that are just accessing these weapons. They're pro provisions from Tennessee and now even Florida, that they're pushing more laws and they're bankrolling it. And from the NRA, it's all a money thing. People are getting these dollars and they're saying, yeah, spread these weapons out. The more, the merrier. But it's hurting the community. And so you have elected officials who've not dared to say, hey, you're dead wrong, and say, stop putting money in my pocket. I'm not selling out. I care about the community. So when you have some people like Representative Jones, Representative Pearson, Representative Johnson, as well as people in our own state, but you have some people that dare to defy that boldly and vocalize. And to see the thing about it, they become a danger because they're so strong and passionate about it. So, when they see you that strong, they just try to eliminate you. Let's just put you out of it. And even though these were the people's choice, that the people put them there to represent them. The people that put them there are not complaining. You're complaining because not only do they disagree with you, but they disagree with you so much that it's glaring, and they're pointing out that you're cashing in putting the money in politics over lives. So because of what their ability, they tried to block them and censor them and say, no, we're just going to expel them. And really, they overplayed their hand because they thought this is going to fly. We got a majority. This is going to
They
fly.
sure did.
And you know, and it totally backfired. And it really, this also shows where the voting down ballot helps. So many people don't think their vote counts. So even in Florida, we have a super majority and things, but the municipal elections matter. So the city and the county had enough people to put them right back there. And that by their policies in Tennessee, that was great. If they didn't have that, the majority in Memphis and in Nashville on those councils to push them back, they wouldn't have gotten reinstated. And now I know people are saying, well, it's a temporary thing. It's a temporary thing, but they have to be reelected to the office. They're not going to have a problem getting reelected. To be honest, what everybody should do is look to try to donate to them to help them get reelected,
right?
So they don't try to raise money and put against them. I mean, it takes resources to get people in office, as you know, Evangelist and Temia. So we have to sow into them. Everybody's out there saying, how can we help? Look up Justin Pearson, look up Justin Jones, look up Gloria Johnson, push them back in, and let's put other people who advocate in the same passion in there too. The only way that these tragic murders will stop is if we start putting in more policies and taking it seriously and stop turning the cheek and saying, oh, and even when we say it's a mental health issue, we're doing nothing to prevent those that have mental health challenges from having access to these weapons.
Right.
So it's embarrassing to me to even hear people say that as an excuse and do nothing about it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
we basically know. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. You started.
I was about to say we basically know what the problem and how to fix it. If you really think about it, we've been saying for years we need to get a certain type of gun off the streets, right? We've been saying for years, especially the past 5 years, mental health awareness that's coming to the forefront, and it's going to be even more so now to the forefront because if you look at these past couple years of mass shootings, every one of them had a therapist. Every one of them reached out to someone in some type of way, signaling their mental health issues. So we already know that that's a problem, and we know how to fix it because it's a lot of, believe it or not, it's a lot of Black professionals that are in mental health now. And so we know how to deal with that. The problem is getting these the people who are in their circle to be a little more assertive and to be a little more on top of things. Like the one that happened here in South Florida. They did a drive-by with him and the whole family knew he had a problem. So it's something to think about because we need more funding for mental health, and we don't need to have an excuse that, okay, well, the family knew he had a problem, but we just didn't know how to seek help. No, that should not be an issue. We need more funding for mental health. And so I want to move on because let me play this other clip. I have another clip of Representative Jones and Pearson, and they had the clip of them when they was on the floor. And this is my thing. I want to talk about this on the other side of the clip. This is my thing. And especially you, Russell. When you're on the floor, of course, the House has certain rules, right? But to the extreme, to expel them. I mean, they could have did a whole bunch of other, they could have just silenced them. They could have took them off committees, which I think they did, and left it at that. But to be so demonic, yeah, I'm gonna use the word, to be so demonic, to expel them says something. And also, that's point number one. Also, number two, the fact that they thought that they could get away with it, and the lopsidedness of the majority of white men in the Tennessee legislature versus all the crowd that
We're not
do you
hearing you,
hear me
Temia.
now?
Yes.
You don't hear me now? Hear me now? Okay, that ain't nothing
Uh-huh.
but the devil. Okay, so the second point is the lopsidedness of the majority of all the white men in the legislature versus the public. I feel like they're out of touch. Maybe it's something going on with how the lines are drawn, but it's not a representation of Tennessee. I mean, the crowd was just too much of a difference than what the legislator looked like. Okay, but I want you on the other side of this clip. Let me play this.
Lawmakers in Nashville have been under pressure to tighten gun laws after last week's deadly school shooting there. Protesters filled the Tennessee House chamber 1 week ago, and at one point, Democratic legislators led a chant from the floor using a bullhorn. Now, the Republicans who control the House are responding with an almost unprecedented move to expel those 3 Democrats. Mark Strassman is in Nashville. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Vlad. This is bare-knuckle partisan politics. A possible vote by a Republican supermajority here to throw out 3 Democratic state representatives. They were disruptive, and it could cost them.
No action, no peace. No action, no peace.
3 Democratic Tennessee state lawmakers who protested with a bullhorn during a legislative session now face possible retribution from a Republican supermajority. A vote to remove them from office.
When you realized that they were serious about expulsion, what went through your mind?
It's outrageous.
One of those state representatives, Gloria Johnson.
So if the expulsion goes through, what kind of a message does it send?
Well, it sends a terrifying message to me that we are losing democracy.
The Nashville shooting and the gun debate in Tennessee have sent shockwaves across the country. Yesterday, thousands of students, fed up with gun violence, walked out of schools they say don't feel safe.
It really makes you concerned if you're going to be next.
Nashville mourns those 6 lives cut short, including Catherine Kuntz, the head of the Covenant School.
She was incredibly strong.
Anna Cuddle was a close friend. Police say Kuntz heard gunshots and likely tried to stop the shooter.
There was a confrontation, I'm sure. You can tell the way she was laying in the hallway.
Her priority would have been to save the kids, even at risk to herself.
Her priority would have been everyone. Everyone in danger in that moment, without reservation.
The 3 state lawmakers have already been stripped of their committee assignments. If they are expelled, they could run for their seats again in a special election. Nate?
We will stay tuned. Mark, thank you.
Okay, so that was a clip during that time. It was in real time, right? And again, the crowd, the legislature isn't a representation, in my view, of Tennessee. And I think it's some funny business going on with the how the lines are drawn, because it doesn't match up to me. And they're not gonna have control for long anyway. But it doesn't match up to me because I feel when God moved these people out of the way, then we're gonna start have some real gun laws, some real change in that state. How do you feel about that, Aunt Ruby?
I'm sorry, I missed your question.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel that that's a good representation of the legislature? All of those white men, I don't know if it showed the clip of the white men walking through the crowd to the floor, but then it was all different kinds of people that showed up to the Capitol. I don't think it's a good representation. And I'm not gonna put the onus on the party, like Democratic Party. I'm just gonna trust God, because I've been there before with the party thing. I'm trusting God, and I'm still praying that God works it out in the court system on a fair drawing of the lines. And Russell, you can chime in.
Please go ahead.
Okay. You put a gracious deferral, Evangelist Ruby. So yes, I think you point out something that's very valid. The majority of their legislature is white males, when we know the majority of the population is female. So there's not enough women representation in Tennessee state legislature, nor many of the other ones, Florida included, across the nation. There should be more parity. This speaks to the patriarchy that's been in effect since the conception of the United States of America, where it says right in our U.S. Constitution, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. It says all men. It says nothing about women in the U.S. Constitution, right? Imagine women didn't get the right to vote until 100 years ago. Black women haven't gotten to vote consistently until the last 50 years, arguably. So there is an issue about the representation that I think people should address and highlight. And I know it shouldn't even be amongst party lines. It should be clear. We want people to represent us that understand us. And if people really represent us and understand everything that's rightfully out there in the population, then we get more policies that matter. You don't have these people with these stances that majority benefit white males. Now, some white females go along with it because they're married to these white males and have them in their family, and it helps benefit them financially. But there should be enough parity and representation across the line. We know in the legislature that there are not enough blacks in there, that 13 to 14% of the population, and that is not the case that's representative in their legislature at all, nor in their state senate. But they still have managed to get some in some power areas like Nashville and Memphis. They have, especially Memphis being the historical center of black culture and activism in the nation for centuries now. But we need more people to break this down, and there has been gerrymandering of the lines. Different districts have been spread out, smaller counties extended into the urban counties. And we see that happening in legislatures across the nation and the redistricting that they're doing. And to your point, there are lawsuits, and they will probably have to redistrict in some areas. But to me, the thing is that you wrongfully did it initially. You knew it was wrong. You did this. And now that you've done it, there should be some type of punishment when you knowingly wrongfully do this stuff. And there isn't. And it's like this happens cycle and cycle again. So it's no, there's no punishment. Even in Florida, when we look at the governor who removed the state attorney in the Tampa area, and a judge came back and said, it's clear that you politically removed him, and you didn't remove him for any lack of competence or performance. But then the judge also said, well, there's nothing I can do. And I said, what type of stuff is that? There has to be some checks and balances. People can't just run rogue and do things because they don't like what you're saying or how you look or what you stand for, or your hair is too long or your voice is too loud. And that's or you're too young. They feel, that these are mostly old white men. Even, I know we're not on the topic, but you look at these stripping these.
We're about to go there, Joe.
We're going to go there in a sec. But But yeah,
Well,
I
no,
mean,
not abortion. We're gonna hit racism.
oh yeah, but I mean, if you look at it, mostly you have older white men that are making rules for persons of color as well as females, and I'm saying if we're gonna do this, then do it across the board. If you're gonna outlaw, if you're gonna take away people's rights to make a choice, because I'm not necessarily pro-abortion, but I am pro-choice, that people should be able to make a choice. It's their family decision. They should be able to decide.
Right.
But if you're going to take away people's right for that, then take away all these enhancement drugs like Viagra and Cialis too. How about that? So and if you're not going to do that, then stop trying to take their choice away. And that's it. But that's not, we know that's not going to occur, right? They're going to say, oh, no, we've gone too far. So, but yeah, the patriarchy is out there, that more white males are in office in every state, and that should be changed. And we should advocate against that across the board. Shouldn't be a partisan issue.
So now, do you think that's right? Do you think that's a dynamic? Because I was saying before that they didn't just take them off committees. They did that, but then they went so far to expel them. Even when the crowds showed up, even when they marched to the Capitol, even after all of that, when the cameras showed up, they still had the audacity to vote them out, to expel them. What does that say about the mindset of, I mean, and I hate to, you guys know I'm not like into the thing, but I'm gonna use this term. What does it say about the mindset of the white man in Tennessee? Like, is something wrong with that picture when you have this whole, almost like the whole young population of Nashville in the Capitol, and you see it's an issue. You have these representatives that speak out on the floor instead of doing a vote on gun control. Instead of coming up with a solution, you're gonna find time to go through the process, like I said, in front of the cameras, in front of the crowds, to still expel them. Mind you, now this is rarely done. And like I said, they could have just took them off committees for a little while. Okay, fine. But they had the audacity as men. They thought that they could just do it because they wanted to. Ruby, you want to chime in on that? You have anything to say on that?
Well, I agree that they should not have been expelled. There are other ways of disciplining them for breaking the rules. But breaking the rules is not like committing a crime or a felony. And from my understanding, there's been a few, that have been removed from their positions because of committing a crime, or some kind of sexual accusations. But just because you have a difference of opinion on something, and because you make your voice be heard, I don't know, maybe it was the way that they did it, but still, I don't think it rises to the point of expulsion, But what did it with me, though, is when all three of them, the Tennessee three, all three of them did the same thing, but all of them didn't get the same consequences, And so things are going to have to change. And I think this is all a part of the change that's coming. Because, hey, these young people have to go to school. They have to go to these universities and colleges, you know what I mean? And it's like, hey, we got something to say about this too, They want the gun violence to stop, and I do too. And it's something that can be done. We've gone through this for years. The Columbine shooting, and it's just too many for me to even try to name, but there was a lot of them, and still we're here again. We are here again, and this time it's at a religious institution. So,
Mm-hmm.
we just need. I
Yeah,
think they're
mad
doing the
they
right
were, and
thing.
they, in Florida, they was upset too. But these young people in Tennessee, they bombarded the Capitol. I
Peacefully.
mean, bombarded. Like they showed out. Yeah, it's not like January since they didn't. It's not like January 6th. Okay, it wasn't a riot. It wasn't an insurrection. They ain't nobody bust out no windows. They didn't bust
Right.
down no doors. They didn't overrun the cops. No, this is totally different. It was a peaceful protest. You're right.
Yeah, if I can add, see what.
So
Oh, am I good, madam? Am I up? Well, if I'm gonna keep talking. Well, I mean, if I could just add to what
yeah,
Evangelist said, see what we have here is tactics that have been used from centuries, from the Jim Crow era, to oppress and block people. Again, in that era in Reconstruction, more blacks than ever were getting elected to office, and you had these legislators that were censoring them. So they've gone to the playbook, back to 200 years ago, to say, oh yeah, oh, what can we do? We can do this, we can do that, we can do, and try to tear them down and block them and embarrass them. And because we've learned from the playbook, the appeal is not to just black people. The appeal is to people overall. The stance to protect the Second Amendment to bear arms is what it seems like so many of these majority legislators are pushing forward. However, they fail to highlight the First Amendment. And when the First Amendment gets violated, everybody they try to ignore it, but you can't ignore the First Amendment. And more people actually like to say what they're going to say and have that right than even that Second Amendment. See, nobody's infringing on the Second Amendment. People want people to be safe, but you're entitled to have a voice, and freedom of speech is a must everywhere. So they wrongfully, like you said, demonized them. There were 1,000 ways they could have disciplined them if they felt their conduct was out of order in any sense. And there are people that get lighter things when they're even in Florida. There's somebody accused of physically assaulting their aide on multiple occasions, and there's been no discipline done at all. But that you have people that are doing everything from physical abuse to getting caught and arrested in different situations. They did nothing like that. They did everything within the confines of their laws and just used their voice. And the tactics of the oppressor show that when we use our voices and we look like we're too strong, they try to eliminate us. So they tried to eliminate those two brothers. They tried to push them away and thought, we're going to do this. And yes, it was arrogance on their part. It was entitlement on their part. It was boldness to say, we're white. We can do whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. And I also even think there may even be some attempt to paint it as a black or white thing, or even try to stimulate internal race wars going on, because Representative Gloria Johnson had the same agenda and ideals that they had, but they did not expel her. And because she was wise enough to say, I'm not going to create division and say, oh yeah, I'm still in it, look at me. She says, I'm still going to stand with them, and I'm going to tell you why they didn't vote me out. And she broke it down and let people know this is the issue.
Exactly.
So it's not a black or white thing, it's a wrong or right thing. And but because they have the floor, they got all the attention that's going on right now. It's like it's our responsibility to highlight them and keep elevating them and others that push their messages. See, those are two prolific ones. They got some great senators there too. There's Senator London Lamar, black woman there, who's doing great things in Tennessee. And we got a lot of talent across the nation that just needs elevation, highlighting, and resources. So now is the time that we've been awakened to keep this movement going. It shouldn't be just for the moment, has to be for the movement across the board.
Exactly. Yeah, they done messed because being arrogant and being, like you said, entitled, acting like they're entitled, and did it anyway in front of the cameras, yeah, that's a grave mistake that they made. Now that issue is never going to go. Those young people are going to keep showing up, and not only that, these young black men, I guarantee you, have sparked that has ignited something across America. More black people running for office because of what they saw. Watch what I tell you, and Stacey Abrams. But let me play that because you mentioned Gloria Johnson. I pulled it and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna use this, but since you guys touched on it, let me just play it right quick.
What does surviving the explosion today mean to you and for your community back in Knoxville, the state of Tennessee?
I mean, I had so much support from home. It was just absolutely amazing. Buses that came today, I appreciate it so much. The people have spoken. The people spoke today for all three of us. Mm-hmm. And sadly, the body didn't listen to everybody. And I think there's a good indication of what the difference was here. I don't think there's a question how those two young black men were spoken to was in a different manner than the way I was spoken to. The representative who questioned me multiple times kind of treated me as someone beneath him, probably as a woman who just didn't know quite as much as he did. Mansplaining, so to speak. But it's a whole different attitude than the questioning I saw go to Rep. Pearson and Rep. Jones.
What do you want to say back home to those in your district and those in Knoxville? I
want to say thank you all I can never thank you enough for all the support you all constantly give me. And it's that keeps me fighting and keeps me pushing. And I want to ask you all, I'm hearing that both of those young men are going to be appointed by their councils this week. But if not, I hope everybody is willing to do everything they can to fight for those two young men as well.
All right. So I think the internet petered out when she was saying that the representatives was questioning her and they were talking down to her as a woman, right? But when they were questioning the black representative, the black men, they were talking down to them as well, but it was a different way that they was talking down to them. And she explained how it was a difference. And she knew that this is not kosher. Like, this is not cool. First of all, you didn't talk to me right, but you really didn't talk to them right. And I know the difference, and I felt that was so profound. And mind you now, I saw in another interview when she said, I've been Justin Jones, I believe, that representative. I've been in the trenches with him for about 10 years, protesting and fighting for different things in the legislature and outside. Before they got elected, they did things together. So I'm like, oh my goodness, this really a representation of Tennessee? What's going on? So how you feel about that Evangelist Warthen following that clip?
Well, I appreciate her. I appreciate her honesty and her outspokenness and just her views and her observation, of the treatment that she got, as well as the treatment of those two young black men. And I admire her for standing up and standing out, even though they reinstated her, she still vocalized her feelings, about the two young black men. So I just appreciate that they separated them, but she didn't. I don't feel like she did in my heart, that she separated herself from those two, I think that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Russell, I feel because she knew the difference in how she was. And she's like, now, they didn't treat either one of us right, but I know the difference. I can tell the difference in how they spoke to us. And how do you feel about that? Because it's something to say that in party rooms, party meetings, you know what I mean? But it's something else to say on national TV.
Yes, I have complete respect for Representative Gloria Johnson and her words. She was candid, truthful, and she was breaking down what's generally, like you said, not said in public. That's only said behind closed doors. Some people that are saying, "Oh, I can't believe she said that," but she spoke the truth of the matter, and the truth of the matter has to be spoken more often. She let it know that it was clear that the language used would not have been used to anybody who was a white male. The language used was trying to talk down and demean, not talking to somebody who's an equal, because we are representatives here, but talking to people like you're down, like you're, almost encouraged to feel like you're getting called out of your name by the language and tone that's being used against them. So she eloquently let people know that that's an issue, and it's been an issue, and more people need to speak out about it. I'm okay with people who are we say allies and causes across the board, not passive. There are some people who toe the line, right? They toe it and say, yeah, I support you, but don't tell people I support you. I'm with you, but I can't tell everybody I'm with you because I don't know how they're gonna feel about it. And she said, take these blinders off. I have to say what I have to say. They've wrote it out with me. I'm writing it out with them, and I have total respect for that. And we do have allies like that across the board. And I commend everybody out there who stands for any causes against oppression, against patriarchy, anybody who's a freedom fighter for people. That we all have different causes and different allegiances that we're closer to. But what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. And in the immortal words of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. I think it should be pointed out, as Representative Jones was leaving the floor, as both of them was leaving the floor, one of his comments he made that seemed basic was prolific. He said that if this can happen in Tennessee, this can happen anywhere. So he's making the point that they had the audacity, they had the nerve, they had the gall, they had the arrogance to try to take away people, expelled, right? Expelling. We look at it in school when we were in school. I know, Temia, you just finished school probably about 5 years ago. But when we were in school, young lady, we a suspension was like, oh man, that's a tough thing. You did something bad. But expulsion was the worst. It got no worse than when you got expelled. You had to do something to the, to the worst level. Like, oh my God, you're expelled from school. Even suspension again wasn't viewed as, oh, that's a great thing. But to demonize them and expel them, there were thousands of ways they could have impacted any type of discipline they wanted. They wanted to go for the jugular with their arrogance and their gall, and the people said no way. God said no way. We're not, what was meant for evil and to take them down, came out as good, and now they're riding high, and people are behind them that never knew their names, not just across Tennessee, not just all the way down here in Florida, but there are people across the world that say the names of Justin Pearson, Justin Jones. They are the future. So God's got us. It's working its way out, Evangelist. Lord have mercy.
Amen. When she was talking about how she was talked to as opposed to how they were talked to, it just lets me know that they felt, when they were talking to the young Black men, they felt like they were superior to them. To me, it was like they were talking down to them. And they were saying, in essence, you're not equal. You're not our equal. And they wanted to get rid of them. So I say that I hope that in the, going forward that they would just cross all their T's and dot all their I's, because I don't
Mhm.
want any of them to get fired or, lose their job for anything that they've done that they do wrong. You know what I mean? Because all eyes, I'm sure, is going to be on them.
Well, I don't know. I think they should push forward myself. Just get an attorney and move forward and push forward. Don't let none of them try to intimidate. I'm so serious. Don't let none of them try to intimidate you. I will come walk right on back up there and speak my mind.
Well, I think they
Get
should
you a
do
good
that. I
attorney.
really do.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't want them to. Well, we all make mistakes, but I don't want them to make any commit any kind of crimes or do anything wrong that's going to jeopardize their future there.
Yeah, but it
I'm not
wasn't a
saying that
crime.
they-
They
No, it
it
wasn't.
was
I'm
just a
just saying I hope that,
technicality. What that was.
yeah. But I'm just saying
Using
going forward, I hope
the
that,
on the legislative floor.
huh? Excuse me?
Yeah, they just got them on the technicality. But let me read this though,
Right,
because
right.
um I don't know how this is going to pan out. I don't know if the DOJ is even going to take this up. And the legislator have their own rules, that they agreed upon and voted in according to their stat, right? So I don't know how this is going to pan out. But let me just read this. U.S. Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock, U.S. Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and 3 other senators asked the Department of Justice to investigate the expulsions of these representatives from Tennessee House of Representatives. The DOJ will be determining whether any violations of the U.S. Constitution or federal civil rights laws occurred and take all steps to uphold democratic integrity of the U.S. legislative bodies, according to a press release from Chuck Schumer's office. Basically, he referred it over to DOJ to investigate and to look into based on violating their First Amendment rights. So free speech, in other words, and violating their rights of free speech. So like I said, I don't know how it's going to pan out because, they take a while to do their investigations, but legally, I'll probably have to call one of my lawyer friends, but legally, I don't know how it's going to pan out because, legislative bodies have their own house rules. Now that versus free speech, I don't know how that's going to pan out, but it's interesting. When I read across that, I'm like, I'm going to bring this and let the audience know that is some action taken. Chuck Schumer say, hey, you guys need to look into this. So how do you feel about that, Russell? You think it's going to go anywhere, or at least it's worth taking a look?
So I commend Commissioner. I commend Senator Schumer as well as Senator Warnock on recommending this to the DOJ to investigate. I think it's a necessary thing that we look at because even though you can have some house rules, this is they're public leaders and public officials, and everything flows off of tax dollars as to how they expense things. So you have to respect the First Amendment rights and not violate them in any way, nor make any notion that we've punished them because they've exercised their First Amendment rights. So I think it's very well in line that they investigate these things of the sort. And what this also does is it puts people on notice across the nation that if you try something like this too, you too should be investigated and or should be prosecuted for doing this wrong thing. It was wrong that they expelled those brothers. It was dead wrong that they did them. That should have never happened. It should never occur. In 2023, if you told me 10 years ago that 10 years from now, 2 black men in Tennessee will be expelled, I'd be like, no way, no way. It's no way that's gonna happen in the 2000s. So they're well within their rights to do it, and make no mistake, it was that they tried to make an example by expelling them. That was what they tried to make an example and a fear tactic to say, if y'all do wrong, this is what's gonna happen to you. And it's not do wrong. You don't do what I like or what I say. This is what's gonna happen to you. We're gonna show you two young black dudes. And the thing that has to happen is, no, first you're wrong for that, and that has to be said that you're dead wrong for it. And then after that, there needs to be look at disciplinary action for it, that you're wrong for it. The thing I don't like sometimes about these these police killers, you look at the tragic killing of George Floyd, is that that the audacity of some people to not say it was wrong was offensive to me. To hear that union up there never say that it was wrong was offensive. And we have to call things out when they're dead wrong and blatantly wrong. That's the only way that there's some change that's going to occur, and there has to be repercussions for it. So again, salute to them. I think they're on the right path with investigating. And you're right, they need attorneys around them. See, outside of physical force, the strongest things we have is litigation and suing people. And we have to be pre-prepared to sue them when they wrongfully do things, because we know they'll sue us immediately. Even right here, right now, out in a public place, voicing on this live platform, some people may say, hey, yeah, I don't know if he can do that out there. When I'm well within my rights, but just because you're saying something that's contrary to what they like to hear. See, they know what's right and wrong. It's just that they like being empowered. They like the patriarchy. They like the white supremacy because it's entitlement. And they feel like if we spread it across, that we're losing our entitlement. We're losing our power. When, see, the reality is we want everybody to be empowered. We want everybody to have opportunities. Everybody's voice should matter. It shouldn't just be some that are doing well and some who are receiving rights and benefits and wealth. It should be able that everybody should have access and opportunity to it. And we just want the basic rights that are spelled out in the Constitution. These rights, unalienable rights, right?
Right.
Life, in pursuit of happiness and truth. We should all be entitled to these things without threats or fear. If you say something, you're going to be punished. How afraid do we look? How afraid do those brothers look? What they've done is, like you said, they've empowered a whole nother generation now, and it's Gen Z to continue to elevate. So I pray those brothers one day that they join people like Congressman Maxwell Frost, who's now the youngest person in the U.S. Congress. But I hope that they get to join them up there one day, representing the great state of Tennessee. And
all right, well, awesome. Well, awesome. Well, you guys continue to tune in. We're here every Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And then we also on Roku, Apple TV, Google, and Fire Stick on Kingdom Purpose TV every Monday nights at 9 p.m. Okay? This week, until then, you guys be blessed.
For success. If you're looking for positivity,